Hey everyone, this video is going to provide a follow-up on the prompt for the week 2 discussion. So the week 2 discussion provided you with an image that I asked you to study and then answer a handful of questions about. The image is of a man and a young boy sitting at the breakfast table, and there is a huge giant smartphone sliced right through the middle of the table facing the father, but it has created a barrier between the father and the son. In the bottom right hand corner of the image are some words, and I provided you with the words in case you couldn't read them clearly, but it says the more you connect, the less you connect. A reminder to put people first from Center for Psychological Research, Shenyang. Right? So that's the majority of what you see in the image. We could also point out that, it appears to be a pretty middle class type of room we're looking at, middle class type of house. The furniture is nice and neat. It's all kind of white. The wood floors with a rug on it, an area rug that the table is sitting on. Both the child and the father seem to be pretty well dressed. Those things may or may not make an impact on how we view the poster, but you always want to make sure that you look at the whole picture, right? Clearly, though, our focus is supposed to be on the table and the man and the child and the smartphone. So the issue that's being presented in the argument, it clearly has something to do with how those smartphones have created some sort of problem, right? The claim or thesis that's being communicated, there's 100 different ways that you could word it, but I think that the words on the image, that text on the image in the bottom right hand corner kind of clues us in, right? The more you connect, the less you connect, a reminder to put people first. So I'm thinking that the claim would be something like, by focusing so much on our devices, we are not connecting with people, right? Again, there's a variety of ways that you could word that. But I think that's the gist of it, based on the image and based on the words that were provided in the bottom right-hand corner. Who do you think is the intended audience? I think, I don't know, anyone who owns a smartphone. This particular image might be geared towards parents more than other people out there. But I don't think that it's parents alone. I don't think they're the only people that this was intended for. I think even if you don't have kids, if you own a smartphone, you can look at this image and it would probably still speak to you on some level. Do we detect any assumptions in the argument? Does the arguer assume anything about the audience based on how the argument is presented? Well, I think they're assuming that we would agree that real human connection is better than connections made through technology or through social media. They would probably assume that we feel like this dad should be interacting with the child more, that the child shouldn't be separated and that the barrier shouldn't be there. That's what they're assuming that we feel. Not everybody would feel that way, though, perhaps. What reasons and evidence are given to support the position? What types of proofs are being used? So, proofs. We're going back to evidence, examples, and appeals, specifically those appeals in ethos, pathos, and logos. So authority, emotion, and logic. Um, I'm not going to say that there's no logic in this image, but I will say I think that it uses more pathos than anything else. Some ethos, and then again, maybe some logic, but I don't think that the logic is nearly as pronounced as the ethos and pathos. So we'll start with ethos, which is authority, credibility. I think that the 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 image or the text in the bottom right corner of the image provides the authority, the ethos, a reminder to put people first from the Center for Psychological Research, Shenye, right? So we are having a Center for Psychological Research. This is their job. This is what they do. They are putting out this image and this reminder, this warning. So we should listen. We should pay attention to what is being put out there to us because, you know, allegedly they are experts in this sort of thing and they know what they're talking about. So we should probably trust that they're sharing something with us that we should really pay attention to. So that's where the ethos comes in. And then the rest is almost all pathos. It's all emotion. They're playing on our emotions for our kids, for neglecting them, for not interacting with them, our need for true connection and not the virtual connection that we get through social media and through our smartphones. So it's very much an emotional appeal in this image. But the ethos is there to sort of counterbalance the emotion and kind of reinforce the idea that we should really listen up, that we should pay attention. What makes the argument interesting and or effective? Well, I think what makes it effective is this exaggerated, this hyperbolic image that's being shown with the cell phone cutting right through the table, and it's almost surreal in a way because if you look really closely, the way the cell phone slices through the table, if you notice the red rocking horse on the child's side, the cell phone cuts through the leg of the rocking horse, and you can still see the one end sticking out on the other side of the cell phone. So it's this really, it's clear that it's hyperbolic. They're not trying to show the cell phone truly creating a divide. It's not literally slicing through the table. They make sure that we understand that it is an exaggerated version of the point they're trying to make, and that it's almost surreal in a way. I think that's interesting. What makes it effective is that they are literally showing us a physical barrier between these two individuals, and that the cell phone is blocking any kind of real connection that they could be having in that moment. The child is, almost in the shadow of the cell phone. If you look on the right side of the image where the father is, it's very light and bright. But if you look over on the child's side, the left side, he is in shadow, literally. So this figurative barrier has caused a real shadow. And that's a pretty cool idea, I think. I think it's very effective. The emotional appeal would most certainly work. Seeing that physical barrier, I think if you are a parent and if you've ever been guilty of paying too much attention to your phone instead of your kids, and we've all done it, then this is like a punch in the gut to you. Like, oh, you know, and a little feeling of guilt perhaps. We start to really feel for the child in the image. And then, like I said, even if you're not a parent, it could make you, and even if you are a parent, move outward from this particular scenario and start thinking about how our phones have created barriers in other areas of our lives or with other relationships in our lives, not just parent-child. Um, so I think there are some interesting things about the image. When I think about their little tagline in the bottom right-hand corner, the more you connect, the less you connect. That's pretty clever wording. A reminder to put people first. That's pretty effective. And then I think that showing that it's from the Center for Psychological Research, that's that can be a very effective point as well. That this isn't just some advocacy group out there pulling trying to manipulate us with our emotions and things like that. We're looking at a Center for Psychological Research that carries a little bit more weight to it. So I think that that is effective. Um, Again, this isn't a necessarily difficult argument to analyze, and there's probably even more layers to it. But I wanted to start off with one that was relevant, something that we could relate to, and something that you would see pretty quickly what issue was being presented, what claim was being made, what types of proofs were being used, who the intended audience was, and how all of that is working together in that visual. You will have a chance to follow up on this as well in the weekly journal. So if there are things you want to point out that I didn't, use that journal, to talk about it, to bring it to my attention. Any questions you might still have, anything you're disagreeing with, bring it all up in the weekly journal. Okay. If you didn't get a chance to complete the weekly discussion, if it closed before you had a chance to post in week 2, then let me know, send me an email, and I will provide you with this image. I'll send it in an email, and that way you can at least see it and know what we're talking about and be able to complete the journal. So please do that if you were unable to post to the discussion. If you guys have any questions or concerns about any of this, let me know. Otherwise, I can't wait to see your follow-up journal entries on it.